Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of North Plains City Council regular session meeting for Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 at 7 o'clock. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mayor Linehan here. Councilor Fates here. Councilor Martinez
Here.
thank you. Councilor Pittman here. Councilor Sheldon
Present.
Councilor Smith
Here.
and Councilor Kendall is excused this evening. Thank you, Lori. Item number 5 is our consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. That is the regular session agenda for this evening and also the approval of the February 5th, 2024 City Council minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes that we need to be aware of? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carried. All right. Item number 6 on our agenda is our public comment, and this is the time that we invite the public to speak on items that are not on our agenda. And for clarity, we have a few folks in the hall, and if you do wish to speak during public comment, we do ask that you fill out a card. Lori, our city recorder, will and we give that card to you to fill out. You'll need to have one of those before you speak. And then folks, if there are any folks on Zoom that wish to speak during public comment, I'm going to ask that you use the raise hand feature. And we will have Andy call on you as he sees that your hand is raised. You will need to state your name and address for the record. So we'll start with our the folks here, Jesse Mays and Lori. Do you have any cards? I don't. Nobody's handing them back to me, so I'm not sure where you want to start. Anyone wanting to speak? I see you, Aaron. Okay. But I'm going to recognize this lady here in the audience. If you wish to speak. Okay.
They could do it after.
Bring it on up. Bring it on up.
We have one person online. Certainly we can start with that person.
Yeah.
Is that for me?
I'll follow you in just a moment. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Katie, your hand is raised, so we'll go ahead and start with you on the Zoom call. Please again state your full name for the record and your address.
Yes, my name is Katie Miller. I am at 16211 Northwest Dairy Creek Road in North Plains. I just wanted to comment about the House Bill 4026 that was that happened today in Salem about the I don't know how to say this, but I was told that the City Council created the Amendment 1 trying to make urban referendums for urban growth boundaries, basically to rescind it and to make it illegal statewide. And it's kind of, I don't know what to say, like it's very disappointing to have things happen behind closed doors without involving the public. And I know that so many people really want to vote on this matter, so it feels like they're being shut out and it feels like they're not being listened to. And it's extremely disappointing. And to be honest, it sounds unconstitutional. Like there are things in the state constitution that we looked up and we're like, this doesn't even seem constitutional. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you very much. We have another person's hand is raised. Ariel, if you could unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record. And again, I did say this earlier, but you have 3 minutes.
Hi there, my name is Ariel Goodwin. I live at 30845 Northwest Brooking Court in North Plains. And my comment is actually regarding the same House bill amendment, that I'm truly troubled after working with the city council and our mayor and our city manager for years. You know, these are great folks who are doing a good job and trying to do the best for our city. As elected officials, though, it's very important that the will of the people be listened to. And that has been very clear through the petition and the referendum. And again, this is a closed door deal where, with it being retroactive to January 1st, the city council is now actively trying to invalidate the petition and remove this from being on the ballot where North Plains residents can speak. So again, I would like some input from the city council on why they took this action, why this amendment was drafted, and why they would not be wanting North Plains residents to vote on this issue. I'd love to hear a response.
Thank you very much. Lori, do you have anything?
And at this time, I really would love to hear, I'd like to use the rest of my 3 minutes to hear back from the city council.
Right now it's public comment and we are going to take testimony first. Thank you.
What?
Next up is, and forgive me, is it Victoria Demchuk? Did I say that right?
No, it's Demchuk, but I don't think Ellis Island necessarily matched up the vowels to how we say them, so it is fine. So I have some. Okay. I am not always loud. Can you tell me when the volume is fine? Louder?
Could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. I'm Victoria Demchuk. I live at 11,000 Northwest Victoria Road. So I'm here to also speak to 4026, but also to the wider process. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all tonight. And I'm really here to consider the opportunity for future conversations. I think that there are many more opportunities throughout this process. The referendum should have passed, or should it, regardless of the path. It's one more step. And it is a step that we can see brings a lot of energy into the process. Within 2 weeks, we were able to collect enough signatures to represent 10% of voters in North Plains. And what I encourage the council and the staff here to do tonight is to consider what to do with that energy. You have a lot of energy here. You can see it as positive. You can see it as challenging. But regardless, I want to invite you to see the commitment that's in this room and that was present in 4026 in the hearing today and has been present, I think, throughout this process, but particularly as it has accelerated over the past few weeks. And this process has become more transparent to the public. So with my 3 minutes, I think I just want to first say that I'm a bureaucrat. And I work on engaging the public. And in this, we use this process, many different processes. We can say that we can call this ladder citizen engagement from Shelley Orenstein from 1978. We can reference the Institute of Association of Public Professionals who focus on engaging the public, the IAP2. We have a spectrum of public participation. And what I see in North Plains is that there have been opportunities for the public to come to you, but not for you to come to the many publics where they are. And that is a critical step in moving from informing the public, where you expect the public to passively assimilate the information you're providing to them, or engaging and asking for their feedback and responses. And throughout this process, and I think the reason we are at a referendum and have that possibility open before us, depending on the actions of the legislature and its constitutionality, it's because there is energy, because people would like to inform you. They want to inform you back. And I asked, what would you like to do with that? And what kinds of opportunities would you like to create? To meet people in the spaces and places where they are, not just at the spaces and places that the North Plains City Council needs. So to that, I encourage you to consider us possible allies. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Erin Nichols.
My name is Aaron Nichols. I live at 11,000 Northwest Jackson Quarry Road, Hillsborough, Oregon, 97124. Speaking for you tonight, ask that regardless of your position on the UGB expansion and the referendum, take a position supporting a democratic approach and respect the state constitution. In particular, I'm here to draw your attention to HB 4026-1, a bill that was gotten set Friday evening and brought before a hearing today in Salem. The bill has a single purpose: to retroactively invalidate the UGB referendum for 2027. It's an attempt not to pass the UGB ordinance or uphold a law, but simply to avoid the public embarrassment of a significant no vote. As such, it's anti-democratic in spirit and unconstitutional in its nature. It's anti-democratic in that it replaces the judgment of the citizens of North Plains with a handful of legislators and lobbyists in Salem. These legislators and lobbyists have very little understanding of local issues here and should not be making this decision. It says that money for lawyers and well-connected lobbyists such as Mr. Honeycutt, who is paid for by those with much to gain in this UGB expansion and is the force behind HB 4026, are the ones who should make the decision. Many of you have said that insiders should be one making the decisions for North Plains. I'd imagine that meant those inside North Plains, not those who are insiders in Salem. Further, this bill violates the plain language of the Constitution and clearly provides for referenda on major legislative issues of the UGB expansion. Article 4, Section 1(3)(a) states, the people reserve to themselves referendum power, which is to approve or reject at election any act or part thereof of the Legislative Assembly. The powers are further reserved to the qualified voters of each municipality and district as to all local, special, and municipal legislation of every territory. In short, should those in power be allowed to simply pass a law disallowing referenda on those issues they disfavor, or to do it as a favor to lobbyists? The people do not have the power of referendum. While a team of lawyers may be able to get this to a court, the fact remains this bill abridges constitutionally protected rights. I'm sad to say that portions of the city government have been advocating for this bill. Both the city's attorney and the mayor are lobbying publicly for this. And I ask that you as a council, have argued publicly for this, and I think you as a council clearly state you are against an anti-democratic and unconstitutional bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Kai Miller.
So my name is and I reside at 31680 Northwest Cottage Street in the actual city of North Plains. I'm much less, I haven't written down anything, I'm a much more simple person, but I will tell you that when I moved to North Plains, I did so understanding that it was a small community that would, through House Bill 1293, be able to grow to meet the needs. And I was very disappointed when I spent a lot of time involving myself in the process that the city put forth for the UGB boundary expansion. And now there's a effort to subvert House Bill 1293 and all the effort that I spent as a resident involving myself in the great process that you guys went for. So I know that you're not the drafter of Amendment 1 of House Bill 4026, but I would urge you as the council to support that bill, that amendment, so that what I moved here with the assurance of can actually come true. And I know that I'm just one resident, but I feel like those of us that are actually in the residents of North Plains should be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Rudy Cadwell?
Yeah. It's very quiet, however.
My name is Rudy Cadlo, it's on.
It is.
Address is 18335 River Edge Lane in Lake Oswego. Yes, I do not live in North Plains, but I have been mayor with North Plains since 1997 when we attempted and successfully added to the UGB in 2007. It was quite a long process then. And this has been a long process as well. I believe we started having meetings. As I said, I am not a resident of North Plains, so not on the mailing list. But I can say that over the last 5, 6, 7 years during this last UGB process, the city has been very open and has posted constantly on their website the agendas for every week, city council meetings, planning commission meetings. There have been numerous opportunities. There have been dozens of public forums and workshops on the UGB expansion. And it was said in the hearing today on 4026 that the proper way that this was set up by state law is to follow this process. There are numerous opportunities for both proponents and opponents to register their concern, not through a referendum, but at hearings at Washington County and VLCD ultimately, and even ultimately to the Court of Appeals. So the notion of a referendum is not necessary. The public has the opportunity going forward and has had the opportunity to make public comment over the last 5, 6 years. If people were paying attention and were concerned about it, frankly, should have been here carving out that and helping carve out that process over this time. Thank you.
I see there's 2 folks on the Zoom call with their hands up. First, I will call on Jacqueline Jones. If you could unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record.
Madam Mayor, I received notes from folks who are on this.
Good evening. My name is Jackie Dyke Jones. I am a farmer in the Washington County, North Plains, Roy, and Biggs area. So I was raised on Mountaindale Road, literally 1 farm field over from the West Sub area proposed. Today, I came to share some concerns regarding the gut and stuff bill, the -1 amendment to the 4026. So during this process, during the Senate Bill 4, while coming to testify and participate, many of us were coming to express concerns for our finite resources, our wildlife, economic choices, and best choices for the community and our area of Washington County. Right now, I am feeling that going to the state legislature is another opposite example of the outside meddlers. So 1 minute we want local control, local access, local communication and engagement, and the next minute we're being shut down. The referendum is not to say no to any urban growth boundary proposal. The next day, the city can put in the next proposal, regardless of what the vote is. It feels like Yes, there's an understanding of hard work, planning, investments. Everyone is doing this. The counselors are volunteers. People participating are volunteers. We're all trying to come together, and that's what we've been asking. We are being disregarded over and over again. There have been no compromises. There has been no true effort in showing that agriculture and our finite resources are valued. I am actually quite surprised that the residents of North Plains were not up in arms and doing something themselves during the Senate bill legislation and being superseded without being notified. I know for sure that the letter submitted by Tom Holt on behalf of the city of North Plains from various city mayors, that the mayor of Banks did not run by the city council before signing that letter. That is taking voice away from communities. That is stifling and stopping community involvement and engagement. I have been working to add my voice and concerns to this process since the early of 2023, and long before then, when I met Mayor Linehan and others, advocating for agriculture in our environment. There is an infrastructure. There is a responsibility that we all have to make decisions for the future. Myself and others are not saying no growth. We are saying smart growth, and we are saying validate it, and show it in an economically feasible way that is the best for the most, for our
Thank you
future.
so much, Jackie. Thank you. We have other folks that need to, and
House Bill 4026 is not about land use. It has been completely twisted. The -1 amendment takes away the voice of citizens.
thank you. The next person.
I look forward to working with the residents of North Plains
Jackie, I'm
and
sorry,
have
but
been
we have a
appreciating
3-minute
to
rule.
learn and grow
And
from
I
such a
understand,
diverse
but we have a
community
3-minute rule,
that
and
has
we
so
have
many
other
strengths
people in
and
the hall
ideas.
and on Zoom call that wish to speak. Thank
North
you.
Plains can grow smart. It does not have to grow huge.
Thank you. The next person up is Ryan M. Could you unmute and state your full name and address for the record? And again, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Hopefully you can hear me. My name is Ryan Miller. My address for the record is 1611 Northwest Dairy Creek Road in North Plains. I'm a resident of North Plains, and I moved to North Plains because I wanted to live in a small town in the United States. I say that because the United States is a democracy where people have a say in the voting, and that's a right that we have as residents, and that's really important to me. And it's really been kind of troubling to be actively pushed out of the process in something that I really truly believe in. So when I learned about what's going on with this bill, House Bill 4026, and how it was specifically amended to completely change the direction and to interject its own new goodies that happen to perfectly fit North Plains, is amazing. It's a gut and stuff. And I just want to draw the parallel to what you're doing to our town. You're trying to gut and stuff our town. You're trying to take the beautiful farmland and put whatever you want so you can get some money in there. And it's wrong. Cheating does not get you ahead. Working hard, planning, doing the right thing gets you ahead. And I would love if my leaders would be in that mindset and not to be cheaters. And I'll end there.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, did you want to speak?
My name is Alicia Patel. My address is 2390 Northeast Ashton Way, Woodsboro, Oregon. Yes, I'm not a resident of North Plains, but I am a participant of Aaron's CFA. I also take my kids regularly to farm country and agricultural country surrounding us in North Plains, and it is very disturbing to me that that is not being respected. And you are trying to double your growth without really evidence justifying that there will be that much growth. But what even more disturbs me is what happened today in Salem with the Amendment 1 to have 4026. Not only because it hurts my neighbors, because North Plains and Hillsborough are very close, and North Plains is my neighborhood as well. And it takes away their rights. And it cuts their voice out of the civic process, which is not constitutional and is not legal. Moreover, it's a very dangerous precedent for all the surrounding country, county, cities in this county, state level, because you went to the state. And if that happens on the state and it happens and passes here in Oregon, you set a legal precedent for the country. And that's really very troubling to me, because it's saying we don't care about the voice of the people, and we don't want to be government of the people for the people, and we aren't willing to represent the voices that we were elected to represent. And I think that is you're not fulfilling your duty as a councilman if you support it, because you were represented, hired, or elected to represent the people of North Plains. And 10% is not an insignificant fraction of your citizens. And you're not listening to them, and that's really troubling. That's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the hall wish to speak? I've seen one other person on the Zoom call, Linda Gallis-Murder. Did I say, I'm sorry if I did not pronounce your name correctly, but please correct me. If you wish to speak, could you please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
Yes, good evening. My name is Linda Gallis-Merton. I'm a resident of North Plains Unincorporated. I'm also the chair of CPO 8 that has been reformed recently. I really only have, oh, by the way, I live at 17420 Northwest Solberger Road in North Plains. I really only have one thing to add to all of the comments that have been made up to now, and that has to do with HB 4026 itself. If you go look at that bill, you will find that it's a bill about voting. It's a bill to make voting more accessible. It's a bill to make voting easier for people. And then you get to your amendment, and it takes away voting. It says exact opposite of House Bill 4026. So if anybody in Salem actually votes for this bill, they're contradicting themselves. Because on the one hand, they're voting to expand voting rights, and then with the amendment, they're voting to curtail voting rights. So I don't know how this gets undone other than Salem just not taking up the bill at all and getting out of Rules Committee. But if there's anything that the City Council can do to undo and unring that bell, I urge you to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I have a prepared statement, Broccoli. Thank you all for your testimony and for being here tonight. I certainly appreciate the residents of North Plains that are in the room who gave their testimony today and this evening. I also appreciate the testimony of folks from Hillsborough and beyond. To be clear, North Plains City and City Council did not sponsor this legislation. We had nothing to do with the legislation. Last year, when I had the honor of being president of the Oregon Mayors Association, Many peer mayors, especially those in smaller communities, talked to me about our 4-year UGB expansion study process coming to an unprecedented halt with a very unusual referendum on the May ballot. There was a lot of concern with my fellow mayors. Many of those mayors and elected leaders didn't think North Plains' current circumstances would set a precedent for upholding Oregon's treasured land use system and its goals. The League of Oregon Cities has similarly seen this as a risk to local government's ability to effectively plan for long-term community well-being and for multi-generational opportunities. In 2014, the Oregon legislature did away with voter-approved annexations with Senate Bill 1573 so that local communities could have certainty with their long-term planning objectives, including providing much-needed new housing. This legislative session, the legislature has made the choice to add further assurances to those objectives by attempting to correct their previous law, not mine, theirs, one that we followed. Once we heard about the bill, of course, we became interested, but we did not write it. This referendum attempt has gotten the attention of not only the Oregon legislature, but other planners and local governments around the state who see planning at the ballot box as an ineffective, inefficient, and impractical way to plan for our state's future, especially if we are to fulfill this governor's promise of trying to rectify our housing situation. Many state lawmakers have agreed that the thoughtful acts of local governments that are doing the year-long, generational, expensive planning that is looking out for a community's best interest, as well as the interest of future residents, is in peril if planning by referendum becomes the norm. It deletes all the long-term planning gains that cities have to do to responsibly grow and manage their resources. I see one other person's hand raised for public comment. Jason Reynolds, can you please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm
Yes,
on a
sir.
headset. Okay. Jason Reynolds, I live at 13760 Wasco Street here in North Plains. If you haven't seen me on Facebook, most people know that I'm pretty well against this large UGB growth. Not growth in general, but the fact that we went from, in 2018, needing from Bill Reed's actual suggestion, we needed 207 acres of industrial land, and now it's suddenly 800 acres of industrial land. And all we've heard from the city really was that this is forced upon us basically by the state government, which it is not. The UGB is, in the sense that we need to make sure that we have enough housing. But for us to make that big of a cut into our farmland for I don't even know why, to be honest, other than I know that you guys were looking to put in a chip plant or something along those lines. That's been posted on people's LinkedIns. You know, you can do some research and do some digging and really look into see what some of the people in the city have been trying to push forward. Keeping this town with that small town feel, which is something that people have been trying to make sure we had ever since I was on the Vision Steering Committee many years ago, that we want to keep that small town feel. Paving things over with parking lots and putting in large industrial buildings is not going to do that. It's going to ruin this town. And I am, to be honest, I am sickened And I'm ticked at what this government for our city has done. And as a long time resident, I am almost speechless right now. I really am so upset with what has happened and what is going on. I was on the Vision Steering Committee for one reason, and that was to help. What I thought we all had a vision of was to help steer the growth in the way that the people wanted. And I know that we were not asking for this large, huge industrial area to be put in. And we can go back and we can look at all of the data from that and see what we were looking for. And that is controlled growth to keep our small town feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Lisa Fry.
Northwest Common Street in the city of North Plains. I'm a resident. I just want to say how much I've also been someone who's taken advantage of participating in the process of contributing, of giving feedback to the plans over many years for the proposed expansion. I am well aware of two different studies, population and growth studies that were done by neutral parties to help us figure out what the right land is to bring into the UTV. And also the careful consideration that is about to come and has been to some degree of the types of land that are the best use and lowest agricultural value for this expansion. And I'm excited that we are going to have a process after the next phases. We're going to have a chance as citizens to contribute to what this land is used for. Residents, light industrial business, it's not all industrial. We will have a chance to contribute to those decisions that will come forward if we are able to move forward with them. And I'm glad that the city and the residents are able to still participate in making the decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Matthew, you can come up and state your name and address for the record. That would be awesome.
Testified earlier. Obviously, I do not live in North Plains, but we come to North Plains, North Plains, pleasant and food, by grass-fed milk and butter, local farmers, we just support local. So, big fan of local. Red Dash 1 Amendment. There is no emergency. I realize you guys didn't write it, but it's hand given to developers who do their thing. The point is, there's no emergency. I get it, housing is a concern. That's a bank problem. Government owns the banks. Planning. I see data centers. Not housing. I see tacos. Not housing. I see Jamba Juices. Not housing. So the point is, nobody knows what's actually really going to go in. The deals are who actually. I get it that there's landowners that say, hey, we can make a lot of money. The reality is those resources are resources because they weren't sold 20 years ago. Right? So I get it, they have a vested interest, but we have a vested interest in having food. We say we want growth, we want local. I believe Aaron and a bunch of his team created a lot of paperwork, a lot of documentation, over 1,000 acres within the plains that are acceptable. I see downtrodden buildings. Why are those not being part of the planning? So it's easy to turn farmland. Developers love it. It's cheap. There's no actual foundation. The reality is, it's the reason LDOT is not working is because our legislative use emergencies or push bills. I heard a weather emergency or weather pattern and everything happened. Is that a real emergency? I don't know. Do we have a housing crisis or do we have a bank crisis for the inflated? I don't know. You tell me. Now we have all kinds of commercial real estate that's just sitting because nobody wants to move it because nobody wants to take the loss for bad. And I see more bad planning because it's easy. People get benefit, some people, and then the rest of the future, the benefit we got from the past, we say, why do people kill all the samples? Bad planning. Well, we're gonna do better. Well, it's not us. Right? We want to not ship produce across the planet, green carbon footprint. Some of the bills say, hey, we want to work on a climate smart house. Yeah, we're gonna pave over perfect farmland and support wildlife. But what, a data center? I don't know, maybe a house. I don't know. It's gonna be a house that people can afford. So I see houses sitting local that can't get sold. The point is, benefits, are you really talking about? I got appreciate. Thank you.
Matthew, I thought you saw your last name.
Yeah, S.
Maybe.
Say that again.
SDTPLLE. And I do move a lot of staples, and I understand how it works, that I can get 800 different people to agree on something, so it's not trivial, I understand that. Same rate, if you shut out the extra staples, which distance, it's about.
Thank you. All right. I just want to make sure that the council, see if the council has any comments.
I'll make one.
That's what you
I think the mayor thought it perfect with, I think that we're going, and it was not us that did this. But the last time we went through this, I can go back here. To my notes. Yeah, we've been doing it for 7 years. Plus, we've had all kind of input from different people, different organizations, and part of the state, part of county. And so we went through it all, and until the last minute, did you get the rent from? During that process, the group that's opposing this called the farmers who want to sell the land greedy farmers. They said property taxes are too low, raise them, which puts more pressure on our people that live here. They called the city council, we are greedy and corrupt. We did backdoor deals, backroom deals, and we didn't follow the law. I mean, if you want to work with somebody, you don't use those terms against the group. This is all volunteer. Everybody in this process is volunteer. You don't make any money off this. But they keep bringing it up. And when you went to collect the signatures, I hate to see that this information that was given out at the time. Because I've heard some. And it's just not right to play the game that way. We've been trying to play it straight. For another group to come in here and use this type of language against a group that volunteers is just wrong. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Councilor Shan. Councilor Page.
A lot of these things I'm hearing from people from outside, they're already been involved in this. Until I was asked me, say, hey, we don't want our farmland to go away. Bushes to be used to grow flowers or seed grass. But anyways, that's to the point. What I'm hearing is smart. You need to go smart, guys. This is just too smart. But taking our inventory we have and planning it out at once. So it makes sense and fits all together. It's too much. If you do it small, a little piecemeal at a time, it's gonna be jagged, it's gonna be jigsaw. We have many pieces. And that fit together right. The smart way is to look at the whole. Every money once. Spend all this time and resources, you get a little tiny piece of something. And then whatever's in a small piece, probably houses, right? And then again, our house, next thing you know, we have people hear about stores, or places to work, they gotta drive far away to do this. Do it smart, do what we're doing. Get the whole puzzle, and build it once. Not like Legos. And one Lego piece will not fit another one, right? So, and they don't just continue fighting each other being made. And I did it for 1 year doing it. Doing that little tiny piece at a time. Just because the plan is there, it means we know our life, right? And that's not awesome. We have a big worked out plan for how it should work. There's a lot of emotion about this. And do this smart. It's really human. And I think doing it haphazardly, a little bit of time is very efficient. And maybe that product is very good.
Thank you, Councilor Page. Just gonna go to Councilor Martinez. Before we wrap it up, did you, have anything that you wanted to add? Okay. Stephen, Councilor Sheldon. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for coming this evening and for commenting. Certainly appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, 7A, which is a presentation with Tualatin River Watershed Council addressing the issue of beavers in the North Plains waterways.
I think a presentation, and I don't know.
You have a flash drive?
It's in the package, Lori.
Oh, I didn't know that. Give me a minute and I can find it online. I wasn't prepared for that. If you want to speak, I'll find it online in the background. Okay.
So hello, my name is Anne Flagg. I'm with the Tualatin River Watershed Council. I'm a subject manager there. And I'm going to be talking today about the Tualatin Beaver Strategy program. So in the presentation, the presentation was given today, there was an MOU and there was also a flowchart, and I'm going to be referencing this out.
I think you're good. Let me share it real quick.
So to start things off, why are we talking about beavers? Not only are they cute and adorable, but they're both known for building dams and creating ponds, which create amazing habitat for lots and lots of wildlife. So we see terrestrial, aquatic, and plant life in these beaver ponds, and so they're a keystone species supporting all this other life. Some other benefits of dams, they extend further from wildlife, also to water quality, wildfire mitigation, erosion control, water storage. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go into each of these, but I can go into much more depth about these benefits. So they benefit humans and our wildlife. If you go to the next slide. So in 2019, TBVF, the Tualatin Beaver Strategy Steering Committee, was created because there was a outcry of beaver issues within the basin, and no one really knew who to call. So the Tualatin Watershed Council, Clean Water Services, Tualatin Soil and Water Conservation District, and Wetland Study Services came together to create TBVF for Tualatin Basin Beaver Strategy. Next slide. And so the Tualatin Basin Beaver Strategy seeks to optimize the critical role beavers play in the ecosystems throughout the Tualatin Basin by providing a broad collective of land measures and seeing rivers with tools to coexist with beavers. So essentially, we want to unify members and agencies at the Tualatin Basin around a beaver management program. I'll go to the next slide. So in 2019, when the group was formed, we did a gap analysis within the Tualatin Basin. The City of North Plains was part of that gap analysis. And the three main issues that we heard were flooding of streets, yards, trails, topics of culverts and drainage pipes, tree damage, girdle of cut trees in parks and homes, and infrastructure damage impacts the stormwater facilities. So we understand that beavers are awesome, and we also understand that you so often hear the negative sides of beavers. So you hear about these flooding and tree damage and infrastructure damage. And oftentimes the city is the one who has to deal with these issues if it's on city property. So we want to offer you support to that. You go to the next slide. So why do we need a strategy for this? The first one is economic efficiency. So you can see on the top left there, traditional management styles, when you have things like flooding or girdling of trees with lethal management. Lethal management doesn't typically work because if you take a beaver family out of a landscape, but you're leaving the food and the space availability, then new beaver families might in the future. So we have something called coexistence tools. I'm not going to talk into too much depth about these coexistence tools, but they're all available on our website, and I'm always happy to talk more about them. And these coexistence tools have been shown to be economically efficient. So 62% at one site, 90%. That's a pretty significant difference between the two, but regardless, it's a more sustainable, both economic and an investment style approach. Customer service. So often what we hear from a variety of agencies is that
or for a variety of landowners is that they're having a beaver issue. Let's say their backyard is being flooded. They go to an organization and they're recommended to another organization, and there's a cycle of referrals. This isn't really a sustainable approach. So our goal is with this that we have a flow chart that is provided to you that can help people where they need to go. But I'm also always available. So if you were having beaver issues within the city of North Plains, you could come to me and I would be able to help you manage that beaver issue. Basin-wide collaboration. So we're working with cities across the Tualatin Basin and other agencies, including security, like I said, Clean Water Services, Tualatin Soil Water Conservation District, et cetera, to have a similar approach. So we want a streamlined approach to these issues. And environmental benefits. So I named a few earlier on, but there is a really great picture on the bottom left here, going down, that shows a stream without beavers and a stream with beavers. That's created by our research and laser effects. It's amazing. So a stream with beavers, you have groundwater really close to the stream, and a stream with beavers, you have the groundwater much more expanded. So when a drought or a fire comes through in a stream without beavers, you're going to see that fire burn all the way to stream side. In a stream with beavers, you're going to see the fire get stopped much sooner, which means that that stream side land is protected. So beavers are really powerful. Go next slide. So the MOU that's in front of you, if you haven't read it, some of those goals are the streamlined response protocols, sustainable solutions to resolve conflict, education and outreach. So our website is a hub for all that information, and I'm always a resource. We also have done many Living with Beavers, creative solutions living with beavers events. And then a proactive basin-wide beaver restoration strategy. So how can we be proactive to beaver restoration rather than reactive? Next slide. Why sign an MOU? So the ask is informal, it's unified, it's non-binding. So really we're just asking you to participate in this and to join in other cities and taking coexistence approach and a streamlined approach to beaver issues. That will aid in organizing those with commitment to coexistence, helps with coordination and delivery of consistent messaging, and will keep you informed. So provide updates for events, something that we'll have annually or biannually events that you can partake in, where we can talk about new coexistence schools or coexistence schools that are working for others. Before I move on to questions, I'm just going to mention who is signed on the MOU. The MOU would be with the Watershed Council, the Clean Water Services, Tualatin SWCD, the Wetlands Conservancy, City of Hillsborough, THPRD have all signed on. And we're currently working with the City of Tigard, City of Beaverton, and City of Tualatin on a variety of different beaver issues, as well as signing on to this MOU. With that, I'll open up to questions if you have any.
My first one, it's obvious. Are you a beaver or a duck? Slight air. I'm personally a duck. That's where my money went. But we have a history of having some beaver families in this community for a long time, and you know, we can definitely see their work. I see it when I drive on board, and then I see how it goes creek. It's higher and higher and higher. And I'm like, those beavers must be at work.
They are.
Yeah. And you know, it's my understanding it's you know, to get rid of them or to replace them is a really big challenge, because new ones will show up out of the blue, right? Yeah. I had a question, it's a little dark question, but it came across a message to me months ago. I think I saw this out on Facebook, but somebody had talked about maybe, is it legal to kill beavers?
Yeah, so it is legal to kill beavers. There is a House Bill 3464 that passed last year. That means that private landowners will now have to apply to a permit. Previously, they didn't. But there are trackers in the area, and this MOU wouldn't stop you from using lethal management on properties if you ever needed to, the city of North Plains. But like you said, it's not a very effective tool. Some might say it's inhumane, but others will just say it's not effective long-term sustainably. Because like you said, a new family of beavers will move in. A lot of people like the idea of relocation. Relocation doesn't really work
Because typically beavers end up dying anyways from the stress of moving to a new place. And it's also extremely expensive, and so it's not really financially feasible either, because the outcome is typically lethal management anyways.
Sure, sure. So this sounds like a very interesting resource for our community, since we have a very active family. James.
I don't know much about beavers. Because of that, I started reading about beavers. And I know the beavers, I know these inside. But I did, yeah. And I understand that the sounds of running water triggers them to build a dam in that area. So I was working at that, the ecosystem tool, and some of them where they have the sound of running water somewhere else. So they build a dam, something that's not going to be a problem.
So, if you don't know, there's many conferences about beavers. The beavers are a hot topic. There was State of the Beaver a couple of weeks ago in Oregon. So, running water is one of those things that some people say works, some people say doesn't. Some say they're attracted to it. What I think is what they're actually attracted to is they see running water and they think my home is in danger, because that's where their lodges are. That's where their home is. That's how they escape predation, is being in those ponds. So they see that running water, as I'm assuming they see it, and they're gonna build their dam up higher. People have done studies about running water, and it's just been inconclusive. So it's not a coexistence tool that we use.
Okay, yeah, they use speakers, they put a speaker in like the. And
Yeah.
I've got a building, there's a speaker with,
It might just be as like different as like some beavers do like it and some beavers don't, and it's like, you know, we don't, but it's not a coexistence tool we use because it's just not 100% effective.
What is a coexistence tool then?
Yeah, so there's lots of, so for flooding, there's something called a pond leveler. So it's essentially taking the dam and putting a pipe through it. So if you're having flooding on the side of a pond, and I'm doing a really simplified version of this, you'll have the pipe in it, and when the water gets above the level of the pipe, it'll drain the pond. You don't ever want the water to drain below the entrance of a lodge to a dam. So the lodge is like where the beavers live, because otherwise they're gonna try to remove that pipe essentially. There's also fencing that you can do around trees for girdling. There's for culverts, there's culvert fencing. You can sand paint onto trees to stop them from chewing on trees. It really depends from site to site, which is why we always say if you're having a beaver issue, it's really important to bring someone from the Watershed Council, it would be me in this case, on board, so that I can help you find the best coexistence tool or direct you the right.
So it's just ones right here, okay.
What's that?
It's just the ones that right here about pre-wired ground.
Yeah.
Councilor Martinez, I wanted to make sure to hear your voice. Do you have any questions or comments?
Just go Beavs.
I'm not taking.
I'm just thinking.
Councilor Sheldon, Councilor Pekin.
Nothing from me.
Okay. Councilor Smith.
I think it's a good resource. I don't think we're gonna get hurt by anything that you're gonna do.
Promise I'm not gonna do much. only offer you research.
Have you gone around our area?
So our office is just right across the way. So we have a lot of projects in like the city of Hillsborough area. I don't know of any specific beaver activity in the city of North Plains, but if you are having issues within the city of North Plains, I'm always happy to go visit you.
There's a game of them.
Yeah, as long as they're not causing issues, I'm going to leave them be.
All right. Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. There was no expectation to approve an MOU tonight. If this sounded good to the council, we would just bring back a resolution for an MOU approval, probably under consent agenda, if that works for everyone in a future next meeting. I did have a question though for you, ma'am. I noticed Washington County showing up here in the flow chart. And I'm wondering, since they are the floodplain management agency, essentially for the county, why they aren't a part of the collaborative, or at least why don't I see their logo?
The answer to that is that they have a lack of capacity to look at that. They have their environmental, their environmental group has seen a lot of turnover recently. So I've been in contact with them, but it's just one of those things that we're completing.
Yeah, because I love step 2 are the beavers causing flooding, call Washington County or Clean Water Services. we've done that for years and we don't have the capacity either, but we have our guys crawling in creeks to help to deal with these issues. So next time we will call you so you can come out and help us assess it. Okay. Okay, thanks.
So, Andy, would you then, you're just looking for a consensus on this MOU? First question, and then my second question would be, if the council does want to bring this back for further discussion, you know, with a resolution, what is this going, will you bring back, how much this might cost us to execute as well? Like, would you bring back?
Like a fiscal impact?
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at some of the flow chart information here, and I don't think the fiscal impact would be any different than what we're currently doing. Potentially, it would be less, you know, less resources expended, less staff time, especially if we can work with some of the professionals. So, yes, we'll do a staff report. I actually may have our public works director do that and present that when it comes time for the resolution. But we could do a simple assessment, but I think bringing in some new help would mean the fiscal impact for us would lessen.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Also, do you want this to come back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have people that are gonna help us out and do the meeting at the same time, that's, and they're cutting budget.
Okay.
Really quick, save my time.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Andy? Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Connie. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's see you again. Thank you. Well, this evening is our staff night. This is a chance where we get an opportunity to hear from our awesome staff, get some updates, and get back to my agenda. Right. Robin, you're up first. Yeah.
Evening, Mary Lenahan, the counselor. Well, the last time I was reporting out to you was from a hotel room so that I could have Wi-Fi during an ice storm. And I was very surprised to see our statistics for January, this past January, when we had to close unexpectedly for several days. It was actually quite a bit up from the previous January. And so I was pleasantly surprised to see that just the overwhelming use of our library, this wonderful beloved resource in the community. And February's been great so far. We found out that we have a $5,000 grant from Oregon Humanities. That is to expand on the great program we had last year, Letters from Home, where people came in and presented about their homeland, people who live in North Plains who are born elsewhere. And so we have funding to expand on that project or on that new series of that. So that's really exciting. I hope to have some more grant news to share soon. And our library will be on the news tomorrow. Because my husband nominated me for a surprise squad and the PBTV came out and surprised me at work. So you may enjoy that if you watch Today Oregon. That's about it for me. Unless you have any questions.
So can we expect to see you after the like happen at 7:30 or something?
Oh, well,
do you know when she's airing that or when they are airing?
I think generally they sort of do it every hour starting from 6.
Okay.
We have it on in the mornings, when we're getting ready. So I'm sorry, I can't pinpoint it for you more than that, but there'll be a link on the website. So awesome. We'll probably have it in your weekly report or something.
Well, that is awesome. Congratulations. I know you shared that at the chamber meeting. And your face was still red.
It was a really lovely surprise, and I was so moved that they donated $1,500 to the Friends of the Library as a part of that. I mean, that was very unexpected and wonderful. So we'll do something really nice for the community.
through library service with that.
Awesome. I'm really glad that you're bringing back letters from home. I mean, that was such a, there were some speakers that were very impactful, and I think the community, really enjoyed that. So I'm looking forward to being able to have that.
Thank you. It really fit in the library, so we're hoping to expand it and have it.
That's a good idea.
Any comments or questions, for Robin? Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Yeah, that. Chief Jones, how does that sound? You're your first one, I know, right?
Good evening, Mayor Linehan and City Council. I'm gonna try to.
His name's like, what's the order? It's on order, I promise.
All right, so, just for the police department for the last month or so, call volume for us went down a little compared to 2023, beginning of the year, but nothing dramatic. And nothing really, no trend or anything really noteworthy in that regard. Just a couple updates from the department, though. We do have, obviously over the last month, there's been a dramatic change just with the outgoing of Chief Haxton and my new appointment there at the office. So it's been a little bit drinking from a fire hose in a few days, but we're getting the hang of it. So things are going well there. Exciting news, Deputy Schutz is recovering much faster than we thought, and he's going to be returning beginning of March here to North Plains. And on that note, I'd like just to extend my appreciation to Mike Mitchell, who's been filling in his place. And as you may remember, served initially in 2019, so I did that here at the start of the contract. The other noteworthy thing we're working on right now is just kind of gathering some trends, crawling trends for public demand calls for service over the last 3 to 4 years. Just looking where call volume is falling within the city and how that's lining up with our staffing hours, and looking at maybe adjusting the hours to the deputies that are here in the city just to kind of match that demand a little more closely. So we're working on that. There might be a change to some deputies' hours as far as when they're going to be, starting and stopping their shifts in the city just to try to match up with when the need is there. As you all know, I reached out over the last month or so to try to meet everybody in council one-on-one, just kind of an introduction and sit down and chat and get to know each other. I feel like I got a good start on that, and I'm looking forward to kind of finishing that up over the next month or so. So thank you for all your participation. Outside of that, I think our biggest things we're addressing right now in the police department, we've had some just reoccurring traffic enforcement concerns. So we're kind of assessing those and taking those case by case and working with Public Works and the new mobile radar signs. So that's about it for me, unless anybody has any questions.
Do we have any,
Councilor Smith and then Councilor Finn.
If I'm glad, was able to meet with you. It'll be interesting for the next period, it'll be yours. The reports. Am I getting that right?
I guess I'm not, I don't.
Well, I mean, this is what we're getting from the pullover, the stops.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, next month's data will be from, yeah.
And then that will be your.
Yep.
With the council, you met with the mayor, is there anything that I open to you that you're checking on or gonna look into or?
Yeah, I think, I mean, kind of the point of some of the conversations, just kind of get the feel for some public safety priorities that, city council and mayor feel are important in North Plains. And traffic being one of our major talking points between myself and Councilor Smith is always a concern, being, living close to the West Union kind of, you call it the speedway, I think was the term used. But, and so yeah, we've been looking at that, we're working on that and trying to, problem solve solutions and doing a little bit targeted, traffic enforcement today. Spending some time.
It's kind of interesting, because I was doing the speed limit and I had a truck pass last week.
That's cute, so.
Yeah, it's kind of makes me wonder sometimes.
Yes. There's never a cop with me.
With the readjustment of hours, walking around, I walk to the school in the morning and talk with the parents. I let to go to the tree work now, and now the other one, we have 2 of them. Walking, the parents really like to see the police cars up front of the school. Hopefully, the readjustment of hours, we can still keep that.
Yeah.
The data there. And also, code enforcement. Has that been much of an issue in the past, and can we start doing that and how that look going forward?
Yeah, I can't speak to the past as much as I can speak to right now, and we're learning about, we're actually working with Steve, just recently on a couple, code enforcement issues within the city that are pretty notable, and so we're kind of just making slow steps and strategizing kind of the plan to address those.
I like you to encourage, since you are the code enforcer, there is issues you have to use the code to help with that. We can make it. So please come and have a dialogue with us if you see something that need help with. And maybe we can work together to figure out a good solution for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Chief Jones, I just want to say welcome officially.
Thank you.
And just a quick question, if not, maybe a suggestion, but I was just curious, as you are learning about the different roles and routines within the course, if there's a schedule or cadence for different topics. And I'm thinking like every September you focus on, you know, traffic enforcement, school zones, and October might be texting and driving, and so on and so forth. And I was just curious if there's any sort of official groundwork or plan each month of what to focus on for the deputies out on the ground.
That's a great suggestion. There is not anything like that officially in place now, but it's something certainly we're considering. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Councilor Martinez?
No questions, just looking forward to finally connecting with you, Chief Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Very good.
I was looking at the webpage earlier today on the public works side, and it said the public works crew was small yet mighty. And I just want to reemphasize like how good the crew has been working last month, especially with the snowstorm and everything that we had. Wait, actually, it wasn't a snowstorm. My apologies, the ice storm. Yeah. But yeah, they were ready, poised. We were supposed to have like 6 inches of snow or more, and just ice. And so I think that was the hard part about the entire thing, is kind of getting to the residents about there's not a lot we can do with ice. I'm from the Midwest, and even if we did 400 pounds of salt, you know, down each lane mile, there's not a lot that you can do. And salt is actually not a very used product up here. And you know, we can use it in some certain areas, but it's just not something that's an Oregon thing. And so with that, I think the crew said that they did, you know, we did what we could with the materials and the equipment and the conditions that we had. And I don't think there's a lot that we could have changed with that. And that's kind of the feedback that I got with my crew after the event. But yeah, there's some things that we can probably do in the future, maybe notify the residents via social media. Hey, here's what we're doing. Here's why we aren't going down the street with the plows on the ground. You know, we are doing these other things. We are looking for potential water main breaks and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that the crew was working very hard and in really bad conditions too. And so, yeah, they are small but mighty crew. They were doing a really good job. So I want to give a lot of kudos to my guys. With that, we kind of talked about the temporary radar signs. I know that's been a struggle even since before I got here. Those things were on order, and we finally got them in place. The ones what we wanted, but we can get some data from them as well. I think that's something that's pretty neat. And Chief Jones has kind of asked for like some of that data, you know, to kind of help with his staffing and stuff as well. And I know there are some things like I'm making something there. Get some data that we can send into the state for some speed reduction and stuff like that. So these signs are going to be really good help, and we'll see them around town a little bit more. Right now we're kind of testing the first ones out there on Pacific, and that relay I was told was going to be about 2 weeks. So we're approaching that right now. So I'm just going to kind of push the limits and see how far we can go with those. Maybe we keep them in place for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But we've got enough that we can rotate. I'm working with Chief Jones on kind of scheduling that we're gonna these things, just to kind of better the safety, and the city as a whole. So that's a good collaboration between us and the police department. Good news, I was mentioning, during that ice storm, as everything was melting, our SCADA system showed, like, a loss of water. And hey, we gotta make sure that we find this. It ended up being, the majority of, private service lines that were busting on the private side. And as they were getting found out and being fixed, we could see it on our SCADA system actually normalizing. We did have one on our main side, but it wasn't, a huge issue, and we were never any threat of any oil notice or anything. I had heard that like the city of Banks had gotten into that point just because there was so much water, we were never in that point. Air pressure was stabilized. So it's good to have that technology in place to be able and to monitor all this stuff and actually get ahead of the game. And so try to keep all that up to date, and running is kind of a high priority for works and crews. We've got a couple of construction projects underway. 313 is going to be starting here in about a month or so. We're going to be doing some water line work and some sidewalks. And right now, on Glencoe and Commercial, they are starting the sidewalk program. And it's affected a couple of local residents, and they've had some questions. We've had to kind of change things around. That's typical with a construction project. But hopefully we'll see some progress here pretty soon with that, and we'll have some safe passageway for passersby walking and whatnot. The lead and copper rule inventory is well underway. I have typically a two-man crew, sometimes a little bit more, just kind of depending on what's going on. With the Vector truck going to house to house. Not every house, it's houses that are older than 1985. To look for everything, and they've got 3 streets down out of the city so far. But we've got some ways to go. Probably finish maybe early summer with everything. And you guys are putting up notices as they're doing it, and doing some light restoration afterwards. And so kind of keeping that contact with residents about it. I guess it's happening. We're talking with Corinne about possibly doing a social media push about it. I don't want to scare anybody. The lead copper rule inventory, it's just a federal mandate that we have to do by October 2024. And I don't want everybody thinking, hey, if we're at your residence, you don't have lead. We're just verifying that everything is okay, because most likely it's going to be very, very, very few. That's what we're looking for. And that is a federal mandate. So hopefully we get all that taken care of pretty soon. Some other things that I'm working, a lot of little projects. I don't put everything that I do in the notes, but some of the things I'm looking for, along with I was talking about the SCADA system and the data that we get from all that. One of the things I'm looking for in the future is possibly implementing like AMI with our water meters, where it's like automatically read. And it sends to our office, as opposed to sending the guys out to check everything. Everything would be more instant, and then customers would have all that access instantly. There's a kind of a cost associated with that, and we kind of look at how does this work within our budget. Can we do it with our meter replacement program, which I also have in the notes. We've got 400 meters that are over 20 years old. So do we just go ahead and replace meters with the lifetime that we have that are AMI, or do we need to make it so they're upgradable? So I'm kind of doing some forward thinking in that sense. Because there's a lot of communities that are going that route, and that will also help with seeing leaks and kind of getting a thumb on the problem areas. And so that's kind of why that's important. There's a lot of other things in the works too, but I think those are the major ones at the moment. And if you have any questions.
Well, how long have you been with us now?
Quite a year.
You have been very, 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 very busy.
I just want to say thank you. I know, you had learning curves and people and community, but I love your attitude and, I appreciate what you're doing out there. I know it's not easy because I know you can get a few complaints from time to time, but I think, I appreciate that you shared great with it. So thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, things like the snow damage, the pretty big impacts everybody all at once. We just had a pretty big event and we got a lot of ice and not snow and there's some ice and there's a rain issue. Facebook was full of people complaining about it, and I'm sure you were too. I'm sure you get a bunch of emails and people. I think what we should do is set out something, maybe do it now, we have especially in mind, not wait till next year and, a week before happens when they better than figure out what we can do. Maybe we can figure out what we can do and what we should do and what we will do and have a little list of it, so you can post on Facebook, hey, when this come up, we will be doing these things. If there's ice, we can't do much, but put them out there, right? Make it build it now, and it's kind of ready. And before having to get adjusted, which happened, our business can't help there is adjusted. But maybe keep it on like Andy's desktop, so you can put it out there, easily accessible. If you're on vacation or he doesn't have to do it, it's right there. So give them a heads up. Expect this at this timeline. Expect the main streets to be plowed, not the small residential. Or guys over, we will get bigger little streets done, municipal. Maybe the smaller streets can't do, but look at the main streets, they will be done, and but put it out there, maybe build it now while still fresh. So next time we have an event, a week before it happens, we don't struggle and maybe somebody can publish it in time, and we have it, right? You get that. I think that'd be really good. And you saw it last week, right? So you had your hands since then. So my thing is just maybe build it now and have it ready for mass communication so people know what to expect.
That is some really good information, and I am in the midst of doing that because we don't have a written policy. And that was one of the things that residents asked, is like, what changed about our policies? Like, well, first of all, we didn't have a written policy, but we need to have one. And some of the comments that I've kind of gave back was, Washington County, LET has a policy, in Hillsborough, Beaverton all have very similar policies. And I would like to put, we have our webpage that's going to be coming out. I don't know, is it live yet or is it?
You're stealing my report later, Dustin. So just wait, just hold on.
That's one of the pages I'd like to get out there, but it's in the works. And like you said, well,
Yeah, we hired.
not over. So I would like to have that information out in case we do have another big storm or something like that.
Yeah.
Councilor Martinez? Checking in? Okay. Anyone else comment? Yeah.
I also wanted to echo what Mary Linehan said, just thank you so much. I know it's been hit the ground running role, and thank you to you and your crew. And I did just have a couple of questions, knowing that it's an ice storm, right? And I'm thinking about what would Washington County use, and is it magnesium inventory that they use on the road for ice events?
That's a complicated matter. Magnesium chloride does not work at certain temperatures, and also when you have wet weather, it washes away. So you got to use it at the right time. And so coming from the Midwest, magnesium chloride was only used to bond to the salt to activate it at certain temperatures. And they could use it during dry, like if it was really dry and we were expecting to get snow, like that 6-inch snow, it probably wouldn't have been a good use of magnesium chloride because it just would have been covered, it would have been ice anyway. And a lot of times when it's in that weird area, it's gonna make it slicker. And so that's when a lot of the local areas will use sandy salt or we could possibly, if I could find salt anywhere and be able to store it, that's another financial issue. Maybe mix some salt in with some sandy gravel, for some of the high traffic sections and hills and stuff like that. That's always an option, but magnesium chloride is one of those, you gotta use it at the right moment.
Okay. On that note, using a sandy salt mixture, is that something that is commonly used in Washington County or is preferred by Clean Water Services?
It is one of those things that you use sparingly. I think there are the state of Oregon and Washington County, they will use it in some areas, but it's not something I think it's like where I came from in Kansas City, they use more in one city than the whole state uses it in your kind of thing. So that's kind of what we're doing. It's just not something that.
Couple more questions. I hear you about storage, right? That's always a hot commodity. When the new public works facility is open, is that something that is in the plans, like some sort of storage facility for cement or salt?
For sand and rock, absolutely, we got some areas, and plus we already have an area down at Pump Station 1 that we use. Salt is a different area, I cannot just put that on a concrete floor because it will have some structural issues and stuff like that. And so it's a costly storage concern. We're talking probably about, we use maybe 50 to 100 tons of salt. That's a lot of salt. That's probably $100,000 storage facility, just to keep it, because it has to be dry, it can't be, wet, it has to be certain, the elements and stuff like that.
Good to know, thank you. And then just my final question, and I apologize if I missed this somewhere in a previous meeting. But previously we were partnering with City of Hillsborough for SCADA monitoring, is that correct?
Right now, we are not using Hillsborough. We are, TBWE helps us out with a lot of around town. But we get our water through joint water commission, which Hillsborough is kind of part of that. But as far as the SCADA and everything else, we try to do everything in-house or with, working engineers and with TBWE. And so we get a lot of assistance with that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, my questions are relevant to the discussion earlier. And then in your report, I read about the SCADA system, and I'll just make a couple comments because I don't think it deserves a lot of discussion, but I read the threat assessments against U.S. infrastructure recently, and I have a lot of concern about that piece and the SCADA system. And without going into detail, there's some pretty scary scenarios where even some pretty small players in terms of, accessibility. So we do have folks here, and I know there's some discussion about that tonight, but, I want us to work towards fortifying whatever it takes to make sure that we have all the doors closed that we can possibly have, that we use massive encryption, even if it's inconvenient. Because it's not just a real threat, it's coming. And I think it's going to come in waves, and they're going to test us. Well, they're testing us now, frankly, but it's not about fear. I just want to make sure our system that we have to ensure the integrity of that system. That's a critical piece. And I know that there's a lot that goes into that, but I just want to make sure that we're constantly mindful of that because it's one of those things that just happens. That's all I have. Thanks.
Councilor Martinez, and we're to make sure to give you time, questions, comments?
No questions. Thank you. Sorry, my battery died.
No worries. I'll stand on. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Justin.
Welcome.
Yeah. All right, Steve.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I have a fairly brief presentation, but I'm here to answer any questions you have on anything planning related. My biggest update for you is the Ready Build ADU program that we're looking forward to bringing forward to you here soon. We've been working with various jurisdictions who have already implemented this program, primarily Eugene and Springfield. We are actually using the plan that Eugene has put together. One component that we needed to look into with that plan was getting the gabled roof structurally engineered. And so we did that, and we found out that it was going to be a little bit more challenging than we thought. The engineering firms that we spoke with had concerns about liability, about the reuse of the structural engineering and not getting paid for that reuse of their plan and whatnot. And so we decided that, you know, we won't go that direction. We can actually get by with just the pitched roof without having to have that structurally engineered. So that's what we're going to move forward with. And we'll put a disclaimer on those plans that indicates that they can go with the gabled roof, but the onus would be on them to get it structurally engineered and pay for that. So we're moving very close to having this program in place. We're going to meet with the county here soon to kind of go over any concerns, last minute concerns they may have. And then we're going to start bringing it to you and present it to you for your consideration. But we really think this is going to be a great opportunity to try and get some additional housing units built in North Plains, where it could have a minimal cost to the homeowner to be able to do that by clearing out the cost of paying for a plan set. It's pre-approved at the county level, so they don't have to pay for those building permit review fees, but they still have to pay for a building permit because they still need to get the inspections and whatnot. So I really think it's going to be a great benefit for the community here to have this program in place, and really looking forward to doing that. Kind of a second component on that we're going to work on is we're going to send out an email blast to architects, home builders association, and other type of designers to see if they would be willing to bring forward an ADU plan that we could put onto our website and help promote them as well, with plans that are in the 600 square foot range and $500 range. So if they didn't want to get our ready build plan, they could find somebody else that they could work with that have plans available through our ADU library for purchase at a reduced cost. You know, to get a ADU plan for $500 is a pretty remarkable thing. So we're hoping that we can find some partners the way Eugene did for their ADU library. And it looks to be like a win-win situation. We get the benefit of getting additional housing units. They get the benefit of getting some free marketing from being on our website and having people look at their plans and whatnot, and kind of get a little word of mouth going in their favor. So again, really excited about the program and looking forward to bringing it forward so you can see it. Rowan's done a lot of work on this, our rare volunteer, and I believe Rowan will be the person that brings the presentation to you. So we're excited for that as well. The other things on my report we've talked about tonight, or you're more than familiar with, but I think the big one is number 4, is also having to do with Chief Jones being on board here now. We have taken a pretty proactive effort in trying to tackle some of our bigger code violation problems. And so, as you may have heard, we've reached out to the gentleman at 318th and Caburn to start getting his cars moved off the street and onto his property, get the pallets reduced down from about 25 feet to 10 or 12 feet for a lot of reasons. I mean, having pallets stacked that tall is clearly not safe. It's an eyesore as well. And so we're trying to slowly rein him in. There's also some living issues on that property that we have to address as well. So really appreciate Chief Jones's support on having him come with me to these encounters and be someone who can help share the message along with me. So thank you for that. We've also reached out to the property owner at the corner of North and Gordon, which you may be familiar with as being a little bit of a problem site for us with their home occupation. They've made some strides over the last week to clean that up for us and get that looking a little bit more presentable. So we will be meeting with them tomorrow to talk to them further about continuing the home occupation on that property and what that means. The one thing that's most important to us is that we're not babysitting them, that they understand that there is a set of rules that they have to follow to do an administrative home occupation, and that we have now shared that information with them multiple times. So, you know, everybody knows now what you have to do. So this could be a big deal for them. You know, this is kind of the last chance, you know, do it the right way and don't make my phone ring, or, you know, it could be, you know, something we have to stop. With that, you probably saw the sheet on the back of my report that has the building permits we've received lately. If you have any questions about the building permits, I'm happy to answer those. We also have some land use applications that are in now. I think the big one that you might be most excited about is Frank's excavation business, the construction business that's going to be building a office and yard next to our public works facility. So that application has come in. We had to deem it incomplete for just some very minor reasons, and they're addressing those. So I think this is going to be deemed complete here very soon, and it will be going before the planning commission for their review. But it looks like a good project, and happy to have them submitted finally. Other things that we're working on, signs, everywhere there's signs. So signs are just continuing to come in for the new developments, right? So nice to see these new companies coming on, like Mel's Bar and Grill. Getting the Happy Play up and running has been very exciting to see, because there's been a lot of calls on that building. Getting the Sun Country rental sign up, I'm sure that would give them a lot of presence now in the neighborhood of being a rental business. Those have been some we've worked on. Building permits primarily are for Lennar, but we have gotten a lot of solar installations. You may have seen that. We've gotten a lot of AC unit installations. Just to kind of share with you a story about the AC installations and our relationship with the county, and kind of some of the effort we need to take to get folks to know that they got to come to the city first before they go get these permits from the county. AC install was done out in Bryn Hill that put the AC unit over the common property boundary line for the neighboring property. And the building inspector said that, you know, the install's fine, you did that all the code, but I can't sign off on this until I get something from North Plains because you're over the property line. As you can imagine, we were quite concerned about that. Reached out to the folks, said, why did you come here first? Oh, we saw that we had to go to the county. So then we reached out to the county. How come you didn't send them back? And it fell apart there somewhere. And so I'm not sure where this unit is at right now, what they've done, because nobody's come to get this authorized. So it's a big concern that we need to address with the county, that they do not take in any of these building permits, electrical permits, any mechanical permits, whatever it is, until we sign off and give them a letter saying, you know, we're comfortable with the site plan, and they have the stamped approved site plan and so forth. So really hoping to get that nipped in the bud here when we talk with the county, hopefully next week.
No.
Who's first? Counselor Page first.
All right, there, the car wash. To the east of, Monroe Park to the west of Melanie. Those are some pretty, these are chemicals, that's part of the economics of them, is taking these chemicals and filtering them out and use them again. Not spend so much money on these chemicals. However, are we prepared for that? Do we know what needs to be done? Are we thinking about it because maybe it goes out of the park, or we don't know enough about what needs to be done to regulate that? Are we knowledgeable enough? Do we need to have some planning commission meetings and figure out if we need to harden our code for that? Because I don't know if we understand what needs to go with it, or I don't know about it. I mean, I know that there's a lot of solution involved in this, not just the traffic study of how much adjustment flow, but the effect. And I don't know if our code's strong enough to support that or not, and maybe we're easier to build places to go ahead and code for it. Other places are harder for it. I'm not sure.
Presently, we have not received that request, so I've heard about it.
Okay.
But nothing's come in. We would start that process with a pre-application meeting. So they would get some feedback from us on what we'd be looking for. If their project does generate enough trips to require a traffic study per our code, we would do that.
I'm not sure with Chelsea, that's what I'm gonna prove you, we know how to do that.
Pardon?
That's what I'm gonna prove you, know how to do traffic studies.
Yes.
The thing is.
I don't do a traffic study, I review the traffic study.
Cool, forget everything, Chelsea.
Pardon?
Forget everything, Chelsea. Are we prepared to deal with the solutions that is being used for that solution for the clean?
I believe we're ready for it. Between our consulting engineer and myself, I think we're more than ready for it.
Clean Water Services too is involved with the pre-application meetings.
Okay.
So any sort of runoff, effluents, they're there to help regulate and monitor.
We have using that.
Yeah. Not in-house, but they're the agency that regulates that.
Yeah.
And they're part of the planning meetings.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out their plans because I don't think there's enough houses. I mean, it's not a main road for it. Maybe we just have softer regulations that they can keep it. That is kind of very bad. Why would it do that?
A lot of dirt bikes fill up at the Chevron station. I mean, a lot of people go out to Browns Camp. Yeah.
A lot of ATVs, a lot of boats, a lot of recreational vehicles, all come through. I think that's probably what this person is anticipating. That it could be a really good spot, to have people stop when they're coming back to their home to clean their stuff up before they get home. Back when I was very young, we went to Browns Camp all the time, rode our motorcycles, and we always stopped at the car wash before we got home to get all that mud and dirt off of the trailer and the bikes before we brought them back home. So being kind of that gateway to everything west of here that is sand and mud and those type of recreational opportunities, I think it will be a well-used facility if they actually go that route. As far as our code being set up, I think it's adequate. I think we have enough provisions in our code to be able to handle this type of application. You know, we will listen to any comments that we receive from the public on their concerns to try and help mitigate their concerns as this comes in, because there will obviously be some additional traffic going down that road if this were to come in. So we'd have to take that into consideration. We work with our agency partners. We'll work with Clean Water Services on all the water requirements and stormwater requirements and things of that nature. Developers know, right, before they even get started, oh my gosh, I got to deal with stormwater first and foremost before I even figure out how to lay this site out. So they start looking at the amount of impervious surfaces we're going to have to put in there. They start looking at where the low part of the property is, and they start coming up with a plan specifically for stormwater before they really get too far into laying out the rest of the site. And they know that they got to pay a lot of attention to Clean Water Services. It's just that type of agency that gets everybody's attention. You know, so I'm very confident that we'll be able to manage the project.
Just a quick question for the Frank's excavation application. Is that, correct me if I'm wrong, I heard you say yard, so multi-story dump trucks there, is that correct?
They're gonna have a building that's gonna be located roughly in the front center of the property with a parking lot there. And then their yard will be the remainder of the property behind. And I do expect them storing large equipment on that property, everything from earth moving equipment to dump trucks. So we are working on coming up with a screening plan for them. They've not shown it yet because our code does not require the type of screening that maybe you're thinking of, but we do have concerns about the residential home that's located to the west. We don't want them having to stare into that yard, so we're going to require a lot of screening on that property side. The other property side is our Public Works Department, and so we will also have a yard matching up to their yard. So we're going to make sure that they screen at least our building from their yard, but where their yard matches our yard, it doesn't seem appropriate to really screen that. And then their rear property line along the train tracks, we probably will not require much buffering there as well, but certainly on the western property boundary.
Okay. And is there a traffic study associated with this permit?
At this time, they're small. The building's very small. It does not trip traffic study for their project. Because we're still working through the completeness review process, and because that's a county road, we've not sent out notice to the agencies yet because we wait until we deem the application complete to do that. So we will be sending out those notices to the county here probably within the next couple of weeks. And then they may have some additional comments where they want some new information as well. So again, it's kind of a two-step process, if you will. But they did not hit the standard that we have to require a traffic study.
Okay, and then last question, living right off of West Union, right? Here, Jake breaks all the time.
You hear what?
The Jake breaks.
Oh,
from
sure.
The large trucks. So I'm just thinking, how many more would that be, right? And I know that's something that's already written in our code, and I just wanted to clarify, because West Union is a county road, is that still applying, or where does that fall?
As far as the rules that we have in our books, they apply. They're not off the books, so we do have to enforce them where necessary. I don't anticipate Frank's bringing a lot of semi trucks through there. Like I said, they could be dump trucks. There could be a truck towing a heavy piece of equipment. By and large, I anticipate more truck traffic coming from the warehouse building than Frank's excavation.
Okay, thank you so much.
So, and you kind of understand how that whole Jake break thing kind of works. It's very tough to monitor, right? Unless we have the chief out on that street, you know, catching it in the moment, there's really not a lot we can do. So hopefully folks pay attention. Hopefully they're aware. Maybe we can do a little more broadcasting on our web pages and stuff to let some of these companies coming in know that don't use your Jake break on West Union. But you know, outside of those type of efforts, we kind of got to catch them in the moment.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Steve? Counselor Smith?
Yes, I'm glad you're looking at code violations. I think the bigger problem than we think. I know with all the HOAs, it kind of narrows down the areas. But have we looked at our code violations like we have our signs and see that everything's updated?
Code enforcement is a unique animal. I think the city has to come to terms with that and understand how they want to approach it. Are we going to be proactive to go after every single code enforcement problem in the city to be fair to everybody? Because we went after one, are we going to go after everybody? Or are we going to just try to rein in the worst offenders and see what that looks like? I will always be trying to enforce sign codes. As we kind of talked about during the work session, there are jurisdictions out there that have one person dedicated to just signs. For example, when I worked at the city of Bend, it was so overwhelming. We hired one person just to be the sign person. That's all they did. You know, it can be that big of a job. And so we will do the best we can to catch those things in the moment. One of the ones I want to try and work on here right now is McDonald's. One thing McDonald's does is they put signs in our right of way. We don't allow their signs in the right of way, but they got 3 signs in the right of way right now. One's a very big banner where they've dug posts into the ground where they can take it up and down out of the ground. So that's in the right of way. They got another one at the very first entry, which is kind of a sandwich board type of a sign that they could take up and move and stuff. And then they got one at the drive-through entry that's also in the right of way, kind of referencing menu items that they could potentially purchase. We want all of those out of the right of way. So it is a big effort to undertake on top of everything else, but we will certainly give it our best effort to make sure that, you know, signs get people's attention, that we get their attention. I should say that we don't want them where they're not supposed to be. Like I indicated during our work session there, we've had sign companies now put signs up before we've even approved them. We've let them know not to do that, or we will fine them for every day that their sign is up before we approve it. So we're trying to get the message out. You know, we do have a sign code, we do have rules, and we do expect people to follow those.
You know, this air conditioning part, the companies that do install these, would they double check, see if there's permits for it and they should know their business, what they need and don't need.
That's a harder part. You know, going historically here, our records aren't super strong, so it is hard to find some of these older approvals. I think our main focus is to address everything new. And trying to make sure that that all works. So if anybody comes in and wants to change an existing sign, you know, we can address that. If somebody wants to put up a new sign, we can address that. It's very hard though with what we have available to go and see, you know, did they get a sign permit for that 20 years ago or 30 years ago? That's a bit of a challenge.
Let's talk about the air conditioning part. So that there's some code violations on people putting air conditioning in?
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
The air conditioning.
Yes, the air conditioning was it's very concerning to see that happened.
But is there certain companies that are doing it? Or is it just the small companies? Because the larger companies should know that.
The answer I got from the AC installer was, we checked and it wasn't your jurisdiction, it was the county. And I wrote back, no, you're in our jurisdiction. It's a 2-step process and you need to start with us. And what I need you to do now is either get an easement from that property owner to allow that unit to sit on his property, or you gotta move it. And that's the last I heard from them.
You know, the property owner is not the bank though.
Councilor Martinez, anything, comment or question received? Okay. Councilor Shelby? Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Yep, absolutely.
Bill?
Mayor, councilors, I see 5 really good people on the right-hand side out there that are going to hear about the numbers at 8:50 p.m. So I'm going to try to keep this brief. I don't have a ton new to tell you compared to last month. Our operating funds and our departments are overwhelmingly operating right below or a bit below budget still. The exception to that honestly is due to a mistake I made when I worked with Andy on creating the budget for you all. I forgot to put a line item into public safety for the spending that you all authorized with your ARPA priorities. I didn't put a line item into the budget, forgot to that have money specifically for the radar signs. So I have to come back with a supplemental to correct that error on my part. But you all authorized that with your ARPA priorities. I just didn't get in the budget. So there is one instance of expenditures being ahead of actual expenditures being ahead of budgeted expenditures. So that's the only exception. So that's it for the operating funds. The water utility, right now we have no non-residential accounts that are overdue by more than 60 days. Everybody is pretty current. We have a total of 4 residential accounts that are 60 days or more. So we're doing really well there too, for less than $400 of overdue balance over 60 days. So that's been a great development. Staying on top of that. And then the other thing I'll just draw your attention to is property tax revenue. We don't have the January numbers yet as of this report being produced. But we're actually on pace. We should land at about $867,000 in property tax this year, which will be about a 12% increase over the prior year. And that's really just due to acceleration and development at Bryn Hill, greatly kind of coming out of the COVID slump and then picking up dramatically. That's really kind of what's happened there. We're monitoring that, but we're guaranteed to see property tax revenue come in above what we budgeted for. So that's a nice feeling kind of going into the second half of this fiscal year. Audit started last week for fiscal year 22. Our new auditors are wonderful. Their process, their guidance, helping us properly find the right documents they need for testing and information. They've been wonderful working with us. So it's been a really nice process. And so that's in full swing as well. Anyway, any other questions? I'm happy to answer if they come up, but I'll leave it at that for now.
Any questions or comments for Bill? Councilor Martinez? Okay. Everyone good? Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Resolution number 9A, resolution number 2255, appointing Ignacio Parra to the Planning Commission for term through December 31st, 2027. Thank you so much for your patience. Hope you and your lovely wife have learned a lot about what we go through for a marathon meeting.
I go through that every morning. Sometimes I have a meeting and I work at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff on the agenda tonight, so.
So good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Ignacio Parra, a new resident of the Bryn Hill community of last September. My family and my lovely wife was honestly, she's the reason why I volunteered. So yeah, a lot goes to her. I'm very, very eager to get this going and starting and volunteering and learning from everyone. And if everyone needs my help or guidance, I'm there. But I'm very proud to be part of it. I hear nothing but wonderful things.
I know that you've already volunteered at a few events. Thank you. Thank you to your wife. We're looking forward to both of your voices on our committees. I know you're on the Parks Board, and so we're looking forward. I know I am, and I don't want to speak for the whole council, but I'm gonna guess that we're probably looking forward to hearing your perspective too on our planning commission. And I know that Chair Kim is really excited to be able to work with you as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Any comments or questions from the rest of the council?
I'll take mine at the end.
I'm sorry?
I'll take mine at the end.
Councilor Smith?
Yeah, thanks for stepping up. At least you got a high school today, what could happen.
Yes.
We're across the keep your guns. And Yes, I've seen you at a couple of events already, helping out. I can get into the community and start volunteering. I'm like you, my wife gets me to volunteer.
Thank you.
So I know how that goes. Yeah, thanks for sitting through all this today. I appreciate when a person gets on the council or a member of a board, that they do show up, so we get to meet them. This is a good way to do it.
Yeah.
And thanks for showing.
Thank you so much.
So do I have a resolution? I mean, do I have a motion on resolution 2255?
I'll move for the approval of resolution number 2255, appointing Ignacio Parra to the North Plains Planning Commission for a term which ends in 2027.
Second. All right, we have a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Hearing none, welcome aboard. All right, next up is resolution number 2256, and this is appointing Amy Gibson Grote and David Amano. Did I say that right?
Correct.
Oh. To our Economic Development Commission, I'm sure Amy is working hard closing down, LEO. I was waiting for her to walk through that door with, samples, but I guess not. So, you go by David. All right, so would you be kind and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Economic Development, Commission?
Thank you, Madam Chair, President and Council members. Like you rightly said, my name is David Amano. My spouse and I moved here last year when we bought a property at Brandy, specifically on Yorkshire Street, 39 Tracy's Northwest Yorkshire Street. In terms of work, I work with Intel Corporation. We like the community very much, and I think that was the primary motivation why I decided to volunteer on the EDC. I'm looking forward to working with other members of the committee, especially on how well to advise the council or to provide inputs that will make North Plains an attractive destination for businesses. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Any comments or questions?
I just wanted to say both to David and Ignacio, thank you so much for your participation and hearing here from Grenfell. That means that you've only been here for a year or so and you're already activating so quickly and contributing to your community. And I just want to say thank you. And I just love the diversity and just the new perspectives brought into the city. And I wish you both the best in your new roles.
Thank you.
Councilor Martinez.
Yeah, just thank you for your patience tonight and thank you for stepping up. It's so exciting to see new faces and volunteering and giving back to the community. I really love it.
Thank you.
So I always do to the group. Everybody that's volunteering. It comes with the sense of community, you're wanting to contribute and do the job and you're volunteering your time. Sometimes you may have trepidation, like doing the right thing, and but we work with the good people and discussing it, and people that are also and you guys will discuss and come to a conclusion, and then you'll be here as well, and you will discuss and come to a conclusion. And hopefully, all of us will come together. We'll be wise, right? None of us know everything, right? But we put our heads together, what we're doing now. We have a chance to do something good, right? And it's a good effort, and I want to thank you for being part of it. And, if you're ever thinking that it's too much for me to handle, just know we're all here, right? You have your own group and there's other groups you talk to, like, in there's us, you know, we're all just together. So thank you for that, and it takes work, and you guys put in work, and this, you know, you're not alone, we're in this together. And sometimes you get a group of people that disagree, right? But if you take the time and put the thought process in there, you know, a wise decision can be made. So thanks.
We have resolution number 2256 on the table. What is the will of council?
I move to adopt resolution number 2256, appointing Amy Gibson Grote and David Amanor to the North Plains Economic Development Commission.
I'll second. All right, we have a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Hearing none. Motion carried. Well, welcome. And thank you again for your patience through this marathon meeting. I really appreciate that.
Actually, that's part of my orientation.
Unless the planning commission, the meeting went to 11:30. So I saw morning councilors.
All right, moving on, 10 unfinished business, nothing listed, 11 new business, and then 12A, city manager's report.
I hope everyone has another 30. No, I'm just kidding. Few quick announcements. The new website is going live tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. So Corinne's gonna get her coffee going and make sure everything looks good there. Genuine Technology, our IT provider, is going to be joining us for an executive session after this regular meeting. They showed up at 6. I questioned their sanity, but they get to see the full deal here. And Robin wanted me to pass along from her, kudos to them for helping to set up the public workstations at the library today. I think that work is all done there. And then finally, we've been setting up some business interviews. We got at least half a dozen for small businesses, kind of older, larger businesses, industrial businesses, new businesses around town. That WCTV is going to help with some interviews in the next 2 weeks. That'll go into some of the mayor's state of the city, and then for future marketing and things that the EDC can use as well. And I'll make it short and sweet.
Any questions for Amy? Thank you very much. 12B, council reports.
I think that.
It's
efficient. Yeah, I'm gonna look at my notes here just because. But the Parks and Rec was my first meeting of the month, and it was a good time to focus on essentially a plan. And I think part of what we have to do as a city is we have to have a roadmap. All of our commissions should have that roadmap. And so we're working towards that. So there's a lot of good discussion about that. There wasn't a lot of other business conducted for that, but I think as far as looking forward and looking at some things that need to be done and maybe some potential funding sources, I think that was a very productive side. To the Planning Commission, that was my next one. And that was purely an exercise in looking at the handbook that was presented. So again, it's another one of those things that we take for granted in terms of having some guidelines. And as we become a little more sophisticated, it's important or incumbent upon us to make sure that the people that were helping us, or we're asking them to basically serve in a capacity that they understand what that service means, what the expectations might be. And certainly on the planning side, it is a process that is rather onerous in some cases. So people that aren't as familiar with the process can get familiar. So that's a pretty important part. that was pretty much that meeting. So we got done pretty early. Not that there wasn't a lot of information covered in the handbook, but nonetheless, that pretty much covered that. And then let's see, what else did I do here?
Economic development, and then you have like tomorrow.
Yeah, library's tomorrow. Yeah, ECDev, there was a lot of good discussion again. And my push as the ex officio was just kind of the consensus of the council. We need to have plans. We need to have our committees to have plans. We need to be thinking about the objectives that we need to achieve, the things that we can do when we don't have a big project in front of us. Some of the housekeeping things that we can take care of as a committee. And I think that's, we have a new member of the EDC, which we were introduced to. So he's obviously here tonight and was appointed. But other than that, not too much activity yet, but working towards plans to identify the things that are important for us as a city to be undertaking. And that's pretty much council reports. I have one for the library. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sheldon. I certainly appreciate that. So, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So, this Friday, I'll be teaching, fourth graders engineering at North Plains Elementary, National Engineers Week. So, April doing some, stuff with that, and we work with a group of 2 people. The reason why we take fourth graders is because, what do you want to do to grow up? At around fourth grade, things start to solidify, and we need engineers. So I'm reaching that to the fourth grade class. We're gonna do something like with levers and pull them. But at the very end of the day, I just wanted the message with the kids, which will listen a little bit like this, which applied to people in the audience today that are here sitting around. When you first got this assignment, you try to figure out how am I going to do this, right? You had an idea in your head, and you start talking to your teammates, and you have to form a plan. Each one has something different. Some are louder than others, but you guys have to do work. You guys major project, and then went around the room with all the other teams, and you guys see what they did. And within these last 45 minutes here, you went from your one idea, your team's idea, to the whole room's full of ideas, and now they're all yours. That's how we move forward as a society. We take those ideas and we each other. We build upon things. Your idea isn't the best one. You can't have one, right? You actually contribute. And that's what I think you guys today. Your idea is better. It builds. You will take that. And we never get results. But it's a building block to get there. So thank you.
Any other council reports?
Why did the commission move into 6 or just move into 7?
6.
Moving 6. They
Sorry,
were
just wanna double check.
consensus at their last meeting.
Yes.
Okay, I've got planning next week. Okay, come on.
Council Martinez? Anything? You good? Okay. All right. Well, at this time, we are going to go ahead and excuse everyone else in the room, go into executive session. So thank you again.
Madam Mayor, any staff are welcome to stay for this. It doesn't have to just be for council if you're interested in cybersecurity. Yeah. North End.
Or have a good day.
See you tomorrow. Let's plow through this.
You can stand up for a presentation, right?
Yeah. Bye, Steve.
Thank you very much for your patience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope you, of course.
See ya.
It's been great. It's been a great learning opportunity, period.
Yeah.
Speaking out.
Yeah, tonight is,
Now go ahead.
All right, before we start our executive session, we do have a script that we do need to read, so I'll go ahead and turn this over to Lori.
Mayor, the city council will now meet in executive session under 192.00600660. I'm sorry, I'm tired. Parentheses 2, parentheses P, to consider matters relating to cybersecurity, infrastructure, and responses to cybersecurity threats. Only news media representatives and staff designated by the city council are permitted to attend the executive session. News media representatives, staff, and city council members are respectfully directed not to report on any of the discussions that occurred during the session, except to state the general subject as previously announced. The council will return to regular session if there is a need for action on the executive session item. No final action or decision may be taken in executive session. Any materials distributed will be collected by the city recorder at the end.
Thank you very much, Lori. All right, Andy, do you want to preface anything, before we get started?
No, Madam Mayor, I think we'll just go at your pleasure.
All right, thank you. All right, gents, introductions, please.